Hello everyone, I'm Josh with Digital Delirium, and this is my good friend Dalton. Say hello to everybody.
Hello.
Today, November 17th, the PlayStation 3 turns 11. It was released 11 years ago on November 17th, and it's not November 17th at the moment we're recording this, but when you're listening to it, it will be.
Yeah.
And I should have done a video like this last year, but I didn't get around to it. Now I'm doing a video celebrating 11 years of the PlayStation 3 and why it's a fucking awesome system.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, I've had one a lot longer than you. You didn't get one until when?
2013, end of 2013.
Yeah. Was I partially responsible for talking you into getting one?
It was multiple things. Like, at the time, GTA 5 was coming out, and they had a super slim PS3 bundle that came with the game for like $250, which wasn't a bad deal. So I ended up getting that so I can play with a couple friends. And I remember you telling me about the PS3, like getting to get one. And I only had a 360 at the time, so all my friends were getting a PS3 or already had a PS3, so I just figured why not just get a PS3 at that point.
Nothing against the 360. I might do a similar 360 video at some point in the future. I doubt it'll be as in-depth as this because there are probably some pretty big exclusives for that system that I don't own. I own a ton of exclusives for this particular system, and I played more than you'll see here. First things first, though, this system got off to a very slow start.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Yeah, it took about till 2007 for this to really get rolling. Late 2007 or 2008. But it launched at too high of a price. It was packed with technology at launch. Like, the sheer amount of tech that they managed to pack into the original PlayStation 3s, the 60 gig models from day one and everything, is truly impressive. But they skimmed that back over time to lower cost, and that combined with some world-class great exclusives, which we're going to discuss, really helped Sony turn the ship around and turn it from the system that everybody mocked at launch to something everybody loved and respected. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but didn't it eventually outsell the Xbox 360?
At some point, yeah, I think so.
I think
from what I remember.
I think it did eventually pass it in total sales.
Yeah, like it took a while, but I think it did it eventually. Because I think it was supposed to come out before the 360, I think, but it was like delayed, I think.
I don't remember. It came out a year after the 360. The 360 was 2005. This was 2006. And it did.
Yeah, it had a brilliant controller at first. They changed it.
Yeah, they had that boomerang controller that was widely mocked. And thank God they changed that.
I still remember that to this day when I first saw it.
Yeah. I'm not here to shit talk this system. I love it, but that was not one of Sony's better ideas.
Oh, I was a kid, and I still thought that was a really bad controller.
Yeah. I got one around the time that they released the 80 gig with the software backwards compatibility, because I wanted to make sure that I got a PlayStation 3 before they took away the PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility, which is what I had heard that they're probably going to wind up doing eventually, and they did.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that actually.
Because
I remember. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, like initially it had both PS2 and PS1 compatibility, right?
Yes.
At first, okay, yeah, because like mine just has PS1 backwards compatibility.
Every model does have PS1 backwards compatibility, and it plays PlayStation 1 games extremely well. You can play them through your HDMI cable, which means you're getting as accurate representation of color as you can possibly get, and you get to play them in smoothed over HD visuals, which obviously the PlayStation 1 originally ran at like 240p, so it's a massive, massive jump.
It looks pretty good. I mean, I played a lot of games on it too. on my PS3.
Yeah, we played a few rounds of PlayStation Doom on it and Medal of Honor.
PlayStation Doom and Medal of Honor. Yeah.
Devastation is great.
Yeah, that was fun though.
Yeah, it was.
It
was a lot of fun. But they did make one brilliant move with this system straight out of the gate. One that, of all the mistakes they made, and we'll talk about more mistakes here in a little bit because another one just came to mind. The mistakes they made at launch, they did one thing very, very right, and that is it launched with a Blu-ray player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that was one of the things that made it really pricey in the first place initially, because that was still kind of new at the time.
It was very new.
Yeah, that was a very new format at the time. The HD DVDs were still in competition with them at the time.
Yeah, HD DVD was backed by Microsoft, but they didn't put the HD DVD in the Xbox 360. You had to buy it as an external, and I believe that the PlayStation 3 having the Blu-ray drive is the reason why PlayStation 3 or the Blu-ray won that format war.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think too.
One other mistake that they made early on was instead of having a vibration function, they put in tilt controls, and this one really cost them on a game called Lair.
Oh god, Lair.
You remember Lair?
Yeah, I've seen gameplay and stuff. I've never played it personally, but I heard a lot about it.
Yeah, I beat Lair.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I beat it after they patched in a control scheme that lets you control it with the thumbsticks.
Oh, it was only D-pad at first.
You had to tilt your controller.
Oh, it was tilt. Oh my god.
Yeah. Originally, the only way to steer your dragon was to tilt your fucking controller. And it sucked.
Yeah, I guess they were still kind of trying to copy the Wii, I guess, at the time.
Yeah, they were.
New.
Which they would do more of later on down the line with a much better effort with the PlayStation Move controllers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. I wish I would have owned one of those.
I never owned one either, so I can't really speak to its quality, but everything I've seen and heard from it indicates that it was a lot better than just the 6-axis.
Yeah. It was good for games and stuff.
They did eventually release the DualShock 3, which put the vibration function back in it.
Yeah, those are the ones I got. I got the more recent PS3 controllers.
Yeah, the DualShock 3 is a great controller. It's still not perfect. I still don't like the triggers.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel too. I was never a big fan of that.
It feels inferior to both the DualShock 2 and the DualShock 4, which the DualShock 4 is my favorite controller, period.
I love it's so satisfying hearing that click when you hit the triggers on that.
Yeah, it's I didn't think you could improve on the DualShock 2. You played the DualShock 2 a lot back in the day on the PlayStation 2.
Oh yeah.
It's an amazing controller, right?
Oh yeah, it feels really good to this day.
And the PlayStation 4 found a way to improve on that and make it more comfortable.
Oh hell yeah! There's the freaking analog sticks. They're really comfy to use now. They have those little indents in them, so your thumbs can kind of stick in it better.
Yeah, it's so good. But
oh yeah.
But the DualShock 3 is what they should have had at launch. It still had the motion control in it because obviously you can't take that out because there are games that still use that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But they made the mistake of having it so that basically a whole bunch of exclusive games had to have 6-axis controls forced in there, and it always felt gimmicky.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about motion controls in general. I think they're really gimmicky after the Wii came out.
Yeah, and there are only there's only a handful of games that I remember from the PlayStation 3's launch. There was what was that one, that Genji or whatever, where it was ancient Japan, and it turned into a whole big meme where Kaz Hirai went on stage and said, "Giant enemy crab." You remember?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that actually.
That was from their press conference revealing this thing.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that live. I think actually.
Yeah, that was.
I'm on deja vu from that, hearing that.
Yeah, I saw it live too. I was watching it on Game Trailers. But they had that was a launch title. There was a launch title that was called Untold Legends: Dark Kingdom, which was a hack and slash RPG. Think Diablo, but not as good.
Oh yeah,
and it was the third and final in the series, and I thought it was kind of sad that the series died there because I kind of enjoyed the series.
Oh yeah, I never actually had like experience with it, but from what I heard, it's pretty good series in general.
But the game at launch that everybody got and everybody wanted to get was Resistance: Fall of Man.
Oh yeah, hell yeah!
Have you played that, or do I still need to rag on you to play it?
Oh yeah, we played split screen on that when you were over that one time.
It's so good.
It's like that was fun. I like that.
It's still really good to this day. The one thing, it wasn't on a technical level. The graphics weren't the most impressive at launch. I mean, and shortly after launch, you got things like Uncharted the next year that looked a hell of a lot better. But the sheer number of enemies that it could pack on screen without slowdown really showed off the power of the PlayStation 3 and what it could do in capable hands.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good thing to say in capable hands, too, because a lot of developers had a hard time with it at first.
Yeah, especially early on. Ports to the PlayStation 3 consistently looked worse early on, and that's because of the cell processor.
Yeah, it's very bizarre compared to other architectures and other systems.
Let me give you a basic breakdown of how the cell processor works. It's kind of like having a manager at work watch over everybody else who's just an employee. And it's got one cell that is the manager that watches over the other, I think, 7 that all do the heavy lifting. And in theory, it's supposed to have that one cell coordinate the rest of them for faster processing. So the ultimate processing speed of the cell was difficult to gauge as a result of that. But programmers were not used to processors that worked like that. And obviously it didn't take off. It was an interesting idea. Not inherently bad, but it cost them a lot.
Oh yeah. But definitely.
But programmers eventually got the hang of it, and games on the PlayStation 3 started looking better and better. And it eventually got to the point where exclusive games on the PlayStation 3 outclassed what the Xbox 360 could do, because at its core it was a more powerful system.
Yeah.
But that is also why the PlayStation 4 cannot be backwards compatible. PlayStation 4 is a much more standard processor.
Yeah, it's easier to develop for.
It's much easier to develop for. And that was one of the mistakes that they learned. They're like, okay, all of our mistakes that we learned from designing the PlayStation 3, we're going to fix it all on the PlayStation 4. And they did.
And they did, and they actually they outsold Microsoft for once, and PS4 is this, still more people have PS4s and Xbox Ones at this point, so it's
it's like twice as many.
Out. Yeah.
But the PlayStation 3 really did not start taking off until about the time Uncharted Drake's Fortune came out.
That was around 2007.
Yeah, that was the very first big exclusives that Xbox fans looked at that and go, okay, that looks awesome.
When did Metal Gear Solid 4 come out? Because I remember always seeing trailers for it at the time. I can't remember what year that was. I think it was 07.
July 12th, 2008.
Oh, okay.
And yes, that was also an absolutely gorgeous game. It's still pretty.
Oh, dude, I still remember seeing that first gameplay trailer from, I think it was E3 07 maybe. I remember seeing that and thinking it was the best looking game I've ever seen that ever will be made ever.
Yeah, I think we all thought that, and it really was absolutely gorgeous.
I was like, oh my god, games can look like this. I'm so used to PS2 graphics and shit like that. Oh my god, that was crazy at the time.
Yeah, it was, and it was a great game. It was another big hit exclusive game for Sony. After that, they had. Did you ever get to play Little Big Planet?
Just the third one.
So you probably at least experienced how that game just absolutely oozes charm and creativity.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah. I need to go back and play the first one, honestly. But I mean, I played a little bit of the third one.
Yeah, like that level of charm when you boot up Super Mario World for the first time and you play it, and it's just super unbridled creativity, and the level design and the music is happy-go-lucky, and just everything about it is great. That's basically, it's a similar experience with this, with Little Big Planet, and it's awesome.
Oh hell yeah!
Little Big Planet was awesome.
So it's like a really like satisfying like platformer, very much so.
Yeah,
it's very classic feel. You play it.
Yeah, it's side scrollers. It's got like 3 different planes that you can jump back and forth easily between, but at its heart, it's a side scroller, and you have your cute little sack boy that you can customize in like a billion different ways.
Oh hell yeah!
The customization in it was just phenomenal, and it had a level editor that let you keep playing it long after you beat the story mode, because you could create and share levels. And I mean, there was a while there where, like, if you got a creative level, they would feature it on places like game trailers, like, here's the latest and best Little Big Planet levels and stuff like that.
That's really cool. I wish I would have experienced that at the time, and I wish I would have got one earlier, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I still want you to come down here and play the Resistance with me. Let's co-op that and 3 as well.
Oh, hell yeah, because I bought the second one like about a couple months ago for like $2 or something.
It's worth it for $2.
Yeah.
It'll put you in some extremely intense situations. Oh my god, there's a fight in Chicago in that game where it seems like endless waves of enemies just keep coming at you, and it is so intense and action-packed and just so memorable. Resistance 2 was
Yeah, because I need to, did you say the servers were down for that?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I was going to say we could try and co-op that, but I guess we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, the co-op mode, though, was not the story campaign. It was one of those where you select your class and you co-op through waves of enemies to try to complete objectives, and you gain levels and power up your character as you play.
Oh, I'm surprised it took them so long to implement like online co-op, like the story mode.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to play that game co-op. Infamous was another big one. That was Sucker Punch Studios, who had done the Sly Cooper games on the PlayStation 2. And it was a big departure from what they had done on the PlayStation 2, because Sly Cooper was like kid-friendly. This was much more serious. What if you're a superhero, but we're going to give you the ability to be a complete and utter asshole with your powers if you really want to?
Yeah, I never actually played Infamous before, but it always looked interesting, though.
It was a lot of fun. It had likable characters, a good, entertaining story, and you could play through it 2 ways. You could do it evil, or you could do it a good guy.
Who wants to do that, though? Play the evil dude.
Yeah. You will get scolded by the other characters in the game, but they'll come to fucking hate your guts if you play through it evil. But it's a great game. It's a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh, I need to check that out sometime. I think I actually have the second one. I think the second one was free for PS Plus members.
It's a good game. I need to play the second one, though. The only reason I own it.
How's that? What'd you hear about that? Does that have good reviews, or?
Yeah, it was reviewed pretty well.
Oh, okay.
All 3 Infamous games were reviewed pretty well. There was one at the launch of the PlayStation 4.
Oh, okay. Infamous 2, right?
Infamous Second Son.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The system also saw the return of the Halo killer, if you will.
Oh God.
Killzone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Killzone 2.
Killzone 2 took a good premise and finally delivered on it.
Yeah, because I mean, I played the original Killzone when I was a kid, and I remember liking Killzone 1, but I always felt that the performance is very, very sluggish and very like stiff. And
it wasn't finished.
Yeah, it's basically just a game in beta or like alpha. It's not even like it's literally not even finished.
Yeah, it really wasn't finished. And Killzone 2 fixed all of that and delivered a very solid, good Killzone experience. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I need to get that HD collection so I can play the rest of those. I only played the first one and the PSP game as well.
Liberation was cool too.
Yeah, I have a demo. I have a demo disc of that.
Yeah, I beat that on the PlayStation Portable years ago. It's a great thing. Resistance 2 was awesome as well. Actually, Resistance 2 had connections with a PlayStation Portable Resistance game, Resistance Retribution, that let you play Infected mode, where the main character of the Resistance Retribution was infected with the Chimera virus, which meant like you could have the quarterly recharging health that's in the first Resistance game and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Isn't it third person?
Yes, it's a third-person shooter.
Oh,
or
okay.
you could play it with your PlayStation 3 controller, which was really fucking cool. Although that honestly made the game harder to play.
Oh man, I can imagine though.
It's because the game was not designed to be played with that controller. It was designed to be played on the PlayStation Portable, and it actually did work well on the PlayStation Portable. What it did to get around the fact that you cannot precise aim with face buttons was it had a square on the screen that your character Grayson would automatically aim at anything in the square. So all you had to do was move the square over the enemy, he would aim at it, and you would fire.
Sounds pretty efficient.
It worked very well, actually.
That's good. Because I remember seeing gameplay of that on one of your videos, and it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I did a gameplay of it in the component to HDMI upscaler video.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now.
Ratchet and Clank also came back on the PlayStation 3 after massive success across 4 games on the PlayStation 2. We got Ratchet and Clank Future Tools of Destruction, which was another phenomenal Ratchet and Clank. If you played Ratchet and Clank, you know exactly what to expect. But it kind of became a meme in a good sense because it had a disco ball that you could throw in the air, and it would start shining disco lights everywhere, and the enemies would all just stand there and start dancing, and you could pick them off with your wrench while they were dancing. It was called the Groovatron. It's great. The sense of humor in the Ratchet and Clank series is so great. Insomniac, rather, always does the best weapons.
Oh hell yeah! Because I have the HD collection of that as well, the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah, there were a couple of Ratchet and Clank games on the system and a few spin-offs. That there were 2 major ones and a DLC one called Quest for Booty that was all pirate themed. I never got to play that one. It was a little short, like mini kind of thing.
Oh, okay, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it was. But Tools of Destruction and A Crack in Time were just phenomenal 3D platformers with their typical great sense of humor, good dialogue, funny, interesting characters. Just everything you expect from a Ratchet and Clank game was in these games, and it was all very well done in typical Insomniac fashion. That they're one of the best companies in the industry, in my opinion.
Oh hell yeah, that and Naughty Dog and
Should be a door just a little
like that. There's like a lot of good developers.
stick to the plan. Tell me you do.
Yeah, Naughty Dog is one of them. Insomniac is one of them. What is the name of it?
Yeah, I can't think of it either.
Sucker Punch.
Yeah, there we go.
The company that does Killzone has turned out to be really fucking good too.
Oh, like Guerrilla Games.
Yeah, Guerrilla Games.
Yeah, they're pretty good too.
I don't know what Media Molecule's doing now, but they did Little Big Planet, did great with that. Continuing on, Uncharted 2 was one of those games that comes along every once in a great while where everybody pretty much universally agrees, yes, this is great, and it gets like 50 Game of the Year awards like Half-Life 2 or something, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you think it's better than the first one?
It is definitely better than the first one.
Oh, okay,
It controls smoother, it's a bit longer, it looks better. I mean, they up the ante in so many ways with it. It doesn't drastically alter the formula, it just refines to fucking perfection. And it was it's one of those games where they slap over 50 Game of the Year awards on the cover of it when they put out another version of it like a year later.
Yeah, it's like kind of like The Last of Us or like Half-Life 2, like you said.
Yeah, The Last of Us was another one of those games. So they got 2 of those that were exclusive to the console.
Yeah,
that's huge.
That really hit Microsoft hard, I think. I think that's what really helped them outsell 360 at that one point. So
yeah.
Exclusives.
Yeah, Uncharted 2 was a huge deal when it was released, and oh my god, it was so fucking gorgeous. It's a tight, controlled experience where the developers have extremely tight control of basically everything you're doing with your character. There's one clear way to progress, and they tell you what it is without directly telling you what it is, and there's room for that kind of linear single-player experience, and it does it very well because the set pieces are just fucking mind-blowing. The train sequence is just fucking amazing, and it kind of starts off that way, though, because the game starts off, you don't know what's going on, you just know Drake is injured. He's hanging from a train that's hanging over the edge of a cliff, and you gotta climb the train, and the whole goddamn thing's falling apart around you. So it starts off like with a big bang like that, just instant memorable set piece.
Oh, yeah.
And it just goes from one set piece to another as the story unfolds, and it's well worth your time.
Because unfortunately, I only ever played a demo of the first game at a GameStop kiosk back when it came out. So I only have limited experience with the series in general.
I would recommend either picking them up for the PlayStation 3 or getting the collection for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. PS4 version.
It's well worth your time. God of War 3 was another huge one. Obviously, the final game in the God of War, the original God of War trilogy, which it's continued with more games after that, but this was the trilogy finale, and boy, was it a finale. I mean, you kill basically all the fucking Greek gods in this game. It's awesome.
Yeah, the God of War is really fun.
Have you played them before?
I have a demo of the first game. I mean, I played a lot of that demo, though. I mean, I really like that demo. I don't know why I never got to actually game.
Would recommend. Would definitely recommend. But God of War 3 really upped the ante on the blood and the guts and the gore and everything that made you like. It's by far the most brutal of the trilogy.
Can't go wrong with that.
And it had that awesome God of War art style and the gorgeous visuals all rendered in high definition, which obviously the PlayStation 2 had like 2 games that were in HD, but it wasn't designed for that. This was designed for the ground up, and it delivered 720p visuals. Gorgeous game. Definitely highly recommend that one. Obviously, Resistance 3 was just another big exclusive from Insomniac. Insomniac put out like 5 major exclusives on this console. They were busy.
They were really pushing themselves. That's for sure at the time.
Yeah.
They were really pumping them out.
But everything they did, like the 2 major Ratchet and Clank games and the 3 Resistance games, are all very, very good. Resistance 3 might be the best of the trilogy because it mixes the you can carry all the best of the first game with the best of the second game. You can, unlike the second game, you don't have a 2 weapon limit, and you have to find health packs, which is what you had to do in the first game. You could carry all your weapons at once, and
All games like that.
yeah, and it had the impressive and memorable set pieces like the second game did as well. So Resistance 3 rather is basically a greatest hits version of everything that was good about the first 2 games into one game, and might be the best of the trilogy because of it.
Yeah, I need to definitely play those games.
Highly recommend it. You need to fly down here and we can let's play 1 and 3.
Oh hell yeah!
It'd be fucking awesome. Killzone 3 also came out around that time. It was very much... it was more Killzone. It was the same great polished gameplay as the second one, really, with the buddy system and the first-person cover system still intact. So that was a lot of fun. If you haven't played the Killzone trilogy, I would recommend those 3 games, and I recommend the PlayStation portable game Liberation as well.
I need to get the HD collection.
Yeah, I would recommend getting the Killzone collection and get the Resistance collection while you're at it. These were supposed to be their 2 big Halo killers. It didn't work out in either case because Halo was basically an unstoppable juggernaut up through Reach.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
But they carved out their own deserving little place in FPS history, and they didn't. Especially Resistance 1 and 3 did not play like Call of Duty, which we've had this discussion before. I think Call of Duty 4 kind of ruined the FPS genre.
Yeah, it did. I heard. I actually saw them play the single player of that, but it looks like a really great game. But I think it just had a bad side effect of kind of molding other game companies and molding other games in general being like that.
Yeah, well, after that came out, what did Medal of Honor do?
Medal of Honor just basically killed themselves with.
It became Call of Duty, didn't it?
Yeah. The Warfighter basically killed the series when that came out.
Yeah, it became Call of Duty 4 is what it did.
Yep. Unfortunately, but I guess that's how it works in business. Whatever sells the most.
Yeah, Uncharted 3 was 2011, 2012, fairly late in the system's lifespan. It wasn't quite as well received as the second one because a lot of people felt like it emphasized the set pieces over the story. A common complaint about it was set piece first, and then they wrote the story around the set pieces.
So it was basically all style, no substance.
I wouldn't say that, but the story is less memorable than the previous 2.
Oh, okay.
It's still great. It's still everything you loved about Uncharted 1 and 2 is still present in that game. Of course, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't hear much about Uncharted 3 that much compared to
the second one was the best one in the trilogy.
I always hear a lot about that one.
And then, as the last hurrah for the system, and the last hurrahs do not get better than The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, it kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, have you played it yet?
I haven't played it. I watched my friend play about half of it.
God damn it! Play it already.
I watched half of it though.
It's so good. The moments in that game where you are fighting against the clickers and the runners, and you're sneaking through clouded areas with the spore clouds, and you can't. It's dark and you can't see that much. It's very survival horror-esque.
Yeah.
The game itself is not a survival horror game, but at times it really gives the vibes like it is one.
Yeah.
And it tells a very simple story, but it tells it in such a way that you probably won't even notice how simple it is when you're playing it, because you'll be so engrossed in the characters.
Yeah. It's a very character-driven game, from what I've witnessed.
Yeah, the writing is legitimately great.
It's like film quality, like, writing.
Yeah. That was the last one in my list, was The Last of Us, so...
When did that come out?
2013.
Oh, I didn't see that. It seems like longer for some reason.
Yeah, kinda. And then it came out on the PlayStation 4 as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap now. Like, the PS3 version's like $10 now. And $20 for the PS4 version, DLC.
Yeah. Would highly recommend checking out The Last of Us if you haven't. It deserves the heaps and heaps of praise that got thrown at it, and all the Game of the Year awards and everything else.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, like, from what I've seen, I definitely need to actually play it firsthand.
Apart from going over to your place and playing games, like we played, I had you play Half-Life 2.
Only had the PS3 version.
Which is not a great version, by the way. If you're going to get it for PC at this point, because if you don't have a PC that'll run it, what the fuck is wrong with you? But if you can't do that, get the Xbox 360 version. It's good.
Yeah, definitely. But even the Xbox version's kind of commendable for the fact that it can run the game at all.
Yeah, it's a programming miracle, kind of like getting Doom 2016 running on Switch.
Yeah, like Doom 3 and Xbox as well.
Yeah, Doom 3 and Xbox was also a programming miracle. We also played what old game? We played some the first Resistance. We played Brutal Legend, and you fell in love with that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Played some Rage.
Yeah, Rage was cool. It fell apart at the end. The last level feels uninspired, and the ending it doesn't end. It just kind of stops.
Yeah, I mean, do you think they tried to? Did they try to make a sequel for that, or they kind of just like?
It didn't sell particularly well, so they never did a sequel, which is a shame because I liked Rage.
Yeah, because I think of all the games, I think that might be like the most negative, the most negatively received game of theirs.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have kind of come around on Doom 3 because initially Doom 3 came out and it wasn't what people expected.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why, honestly. Looking back.
But when you revisit it and you play it and you go, okay, it's not what I expect, so let's see what it is, it's still well made.
It's a good first-person shooter survival, so like a horror game.
Yeah.
Very, very horror.
The atmosphere is so thick you couldn't cut it with a knife, and it got the PlayStation 3 got a great version of it with the Doom 3 BFG edition, and it's amazing how well that held up because that game was from 2004 and it still looked good. And what was that, 2011?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I still got playing it on the Xbox. I played the Xbox version first. God, these graphics are pretty stellar.
Yeah, the lighting effects are still a work of art.
Yeah, it still looks good. Even like the original PC release still looks pretty good.
Yeah,
back settings.
That kind of lighting has largely gone by the wayside, which I think is kind of a shame because boy, it was so gorgeous.
Yeah, like I mean, for the time especially, like, the same thing with like Serious Sam had like that.
But I tell you what else was fun that we did was co-oping through Resident Evil 5.
Oh, I always forget about that because we didn't record it.
Yeah, we didn't record it, we just did it. That was so much fun.
That's a very fun game.
It really is. You can ignore its shortcomings of being an action game with horror controls when you're playing with a friend.
Yeah, I actually really like Resident Evil 5, to be honest.
I'm not saying it's bad, but you can at least give me it's an action game with horror controls.
It's definitely. Without a doubt.
It would control a lot better if you could move and aim at the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is true though. I mean, I will agree with that. It's really good. It's really good on the PS4. It has really good performance. Looks great, and it feels really good with the DualShock 4.
Yeah. So, what all games? I mean, what PlayStation memories do you have besides playing that with me? What all memories do you have tied to it? Since you didn't know it as long as I did.
Well, I mean, there were a handful of times where one of my friends would come over with this PS3 and play like Call of Duty, like split screen online and stuff like that. I mean, I played a PS3 prior to like owning one, just on my friends, stuff like that. I mean, like when I got my PS3, I really played a lot of GTA 5 because that was the game I got with it. Like other than that, I got a lot of the HD remasters like Resident Evil on it.
Yeah.
The Ratchet & Clank HD remaster. Yeah, I mean,
you should get the Jack and Daxter HD remaster.
Yeah, definitely. I need to get that. I recently got the Sly Cooper one. I was gonna start playing through that.
And the Shadow of the Colossus and Ico one too.
Oh hell yeah! Yeah, because I remember seeing that was kind of pricey now.
That doesn't surprise me. It didn't. The games didn't sell amazingly well. Like everybody that played them sings their praises, and not enough people played them.
It's usually the thing with those like artistic games. Like it's more of like a niche thing, where like not a lot of people not as many people would buy them compared to something like Uncharted or like Metal Gear Solid or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
Kind of go by the wayside a little bit. It becomes kind of like a niche, like a series. I mean, like, at least they're doing that, is that a remaster or a remake that's being made now?
There's a remake for the PlayStation 4.
I kept getting confused with that.
When you see them side by side, it's obvious.
Okay, yeah. Because at first I was really confused. I thought it was like a really, really well done remaster, but I was like, okay, never mind.
No, it's definitely a remake.
It looks like yeah. I mean, which is cool, though. I mean, I'll probably get that. I mean, I played the PS2 version a long time ago, but
I have a lot of memories tied to this console. I loved playing through the first Resistance co-op with my brother. We did that a couple of times and beat it. And one game that I forgot, and I wish I still had a copy of it because I would have included it in this montage if I did. There was an RPG called Folklore, and most people don't even remember this game. But I'm going to make it sound like Pokemon here, but I assure you it's not. You attack enemies to weaken them, you capture them, and then use them to fight. Does that sound like Pokemon?
Oh, totally.
But it's an action RPG dungeon crawler.
Oh, wow.
The enemies are... When I say you use them to fight, the enemies are your weapons. You pick them up, you collect them, and you use them as weapons. And every single enemy in the game has a different kind of attack. And you have to mix and match to be able to fight the different enemies in the game. And it had a very dark... Like, look it up sometime. The art style's gorgeous. It's a very dark fairy tale kind of look and feel. Kind of a foreboding atmosphere. Like, look it up sometime. It's a gorgeous game. And I'd recommend playing that one. Everybody go play that game. You missed out on it, and it was great.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of games like that. Platform thing.
Yeah, and it was a PS3 exclusive, and I played it, and nobody else I knew fucking played it.
Yeah, it's one of those games.
Highly recommend it. Anyway, yeah, the PlayStation 3 is fucking awesome. Happy 11th birthday, PlayStation 3. I will continue to play games as long as I've got a stack of unfinished games for it.
Same here, actually. Yep. Hell yeah.
Anyway, this has gone on long enough. We really need to stop. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below. It will be greatly appreciated, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks, everybody, and goodbye.